Most people don't notice the moment it begins. There's no loud warning, no sudden pain that forces attention. It starts quietly, almost invisibly, in the small habits repeated throughout the day. Looking down at a phone for a few extra minutes, leaning forward while working, relaxing into a slouched position because it feels easier in the moment. These actions seem harmless, almost insignificant, but over time they begin to shape the body. The shoulders round forward, the head shifts out of alignment, and gradually a subtle curve forms at the base of the neck. What was once natural posture becomes unfamiliar, and what is misaligned begins to feel normal. This is where awareness becomes powerful, not because it instantly fixes the problem, but because it interrupts the pattern. Without awareness, the body continues to follow unconscious habits. With awareness, a person begins to observe. They notice how often they look down instead of straight ahead. They realize how frequently they sit without support or stand without balance. Awareness shines a light on what was previously ignored, and in that moment, change becomes possible. The challenge is that most people wait until discomfort appears before they pay attention. They wait for stiffness, for pain, for visible changes that can no longer be ignored. By then, the habit has already been reinforced hundreds, even thousands of times. The body has adapted, muscles have tightened in some areas and weakened in others, and the posture has shifted into a new default. It feels harder to correct because it has been practiced for so long without interruption. But awareness doesn't require pain to begin. It can start with a simple observation. The next time someone catches their reflection or pauses during their day, they can ask a question. How am I holding my body right now? That question alone creates a moment of clarity. It pulls attention away from automatic behavior and brings it into the present. In that space, even the smallest adjustment becomes meaningful. When a person becomes aware of their posture, they begin to notice patterns. They see how their head naturally moves forward when they are focused on a screen. They feel how their shoulders collapse inward when they are tired or distracted. They recognize how their body mirrors their mental state, tense when stressed, slouched when disengaged, upright when alert and confident. This connection between mind and body is not accidental. It is continuous and responsive, shaping both physical form and emotional experience. Awareness also reveals something deeper. Change doesn't come from force, it comes from attention. Trying to fix posture aggressively often leads to tension and frustration, but observing it gently allows the body to respond more naturally. Instead of forcing the shoulders back or pushing the chest forward, awareness encourages subtle correction. A slight lift through the spine, a gentle repositioning of the head, a relaxed opening of the chest. These small shifts begin to retrain the body without resistance. Over time, awareness builds consistency. Each moment of noticing becomes an opportunity to realign. It's not about perfection, it's about repetition. The more often a person becomes aware, the more frequently they interrupt old habits. And every interruption weakens the pattern that created the problem in the first place. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the body begins to adapt again, but this time in a healthier direction. There is also a psychological shift that comes with awareness. When someone pays attention to their posture, they begin to feel more in control of their body. Instead of being a passive result of habits, they become an active participant in shaping their physical state. This sense of control extends beyond posture. It influences how they carry themselves in conversations, how they walk into a room, how they present themselves to the world. Awareness creates a ripple effect that touches confidence, energy, and presence. Another important aspect of awareness is timing. It's not enough to notice posture once a day and expect lasting change. Awareness must be repeated throughout the day, especially during the moments when poor habits are most likely to occur. While working, using a phone, sitting for long periods, or even standing casually, these are the moments where attention matters most. Each time awareness is applied, it reinforces a new standard for how the body should feel and function. At first, this may feel effortful. The mind is not used to checking in so frequently, and the body is accustomed to its current position. But with repetition, awareness becomes more natural. It shifts from something that requires effort to something that happens automatically. Just as poor posture once became a habit, conscious alignment begins to take its place. Awareness also teaches patience. The neck hump did not appear overnight, and it will not disappear overnight. Expecting immediate results can lead to discouragement, which often causes people to give up too soon. But awareness reframes the process. It shifts the focus from quick results to ongoing improvement. Each moment of noticing and correcting becomes a small victory, a step in the right direction. As awareness deepens, a person begins to understand their body in a new way. They learn how different positions feel, how alignment affects comfort, and how subtle changes can create noticeable differences. This understanding builds trust. Instead of relying on external reminders or instructions, they develop an internal sense of what is right for their body. That sense becomes a guide, helping them maintain better posture naturally. The most powerful thing about awareness is that it is always available. It doesn't require equipment, time, or special conditions. It can be practiced anywhere, at any moment. Whether sitting, standing, or moving, awareness can be applied instantly. And each time it is applied, it brings the body closer to balance and alignment. What begins as a simple observation grows into a habit of attention. That habit gradually replaces unconscious patterns with intentional ones. The body responds not because it is forced, but because it is guided, and through that guidance, lasting change begins to take shape. Most people believe that transformation requires something dramatic. They imagine long hours, complicated routines, or intense effort as the only way to create meaningful change. This belief often becomes the very reason they never begin. The idea feels overwhelming, so they delay action, waiting for the right time when they have more energy, more motivation, or more freedom in their schedule. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful than that. Real change does not come from doing more. It comes from doing something small, consistently, over time. When it comes to improving posture or correcting something like a neck hump, the body does not respond to occasional intensity. It responds to repetition. The body is always adapting to what you repeatedly do. If you spend hours each day looking down, your body adapts to that position. If you begin to introduce small corrective movements every day, your body will adapt to those as well. It is not the size of the action that matters, it is the frequency. Small actions have an advantage that most people overlook. They are easy to start, easy to repeat, and easy to maintain. There is no resistance to doing something that takes only a few minutes. There is no need to prepare mentally or physically for a simple exercise. This removes the biggest barrier to change, which is often not difficulty, but inconsistency. When something feels manageable, it becomes sustainable, and sustainability is what creates transformation. Consider the idea of doing just a few simple exercises each day. On their own, they may seem insignificant. A few chin tucks, a brief shoulder squeeze, a moment of standing against a wall. None of these actions feel like they could reverse months or years of poor posture. But this is where perspective becomes important. These small actions are not isolated events. They are part of a pattern. When repeated daily, they begin to accumulate. Each repetition reinforces a new alignment, a new way of holding the body. The body does not distinguish between large and small efforts in the way the mind does. It responds to signals. Every time you perform a corrective movement, you are sending a signal to your muscles and joints. You are reminding them of their natural position. You are encouraging balance where there was imbalance. Over time, these signals become stronger, and the body begins to respond more naturally to them. There is also a psychological shift that happens when you commit to small actions. Instead of feeling pressured to achieve a big result, you focus on completing a simple task. This reduces stress and increases the likelihood of follow-through. Each time you complete a small action, you build a sense of progress. That progress creates momentum, and momentum makes it easier to continue. Momentum is one of the most underestimated forces in personal change. It starts quietly, almost unnoticed. A few days of consistent effort lead to a sense of accomplishment. That sense of accomplishment encourages further action. Before long, what once required effort becomes part of your routine. The small actions no longer feel like tasks, they become habits. Habits shape identity. When you consistently engage in actions that support better posture, you begin to see yourself differently. You are no longer someone who neglects their body, you become someone who takes care of it. This shift in identity reinforces the behavior, making it more likely to continue. The change is no longer something you are trying to achieve, it becomes part of who you are. Another important aspect of small actions is that they allow for flexibility. Life is unpredictable, and there will always be moments when time or energy is limited. Large, complex routines are often the first to be abandoned during these times. But small actions can be adapted. Even on a busy day, a few minutes can be found. This ensures that the pattern of consistency is not broken. Consistency does not mean perfection. There will be days when the actions are performed with less focus or fewer repetitions. What matters is that the pattern continues. Each day of action, no matter how small, reinforces the habit. Missing a day is not failure, but repeatedly stopping and starting disrupts the process. Small actions make it easier to maintain continuity, which is essential for long-term change. The simplicity of these actions also makes them accessible to everyone. There is no need for special equipment, no requirement for a specific environment. They can be performed at home, at work, or even during short breaks throughout the day. This accessibility removes excuses and makes it easier to integrate them into daily life. As these small actions are repeated, subtle changes begin to occur. Muscles that were once tight start to loosen. Muscles that were weak begin to strengthen. The body starts to find balance again. These changes may not be immediately visible, but they are happening beneath the surface. Over time, they become more noticeable. The posture begins to improve, the neck aligns more naturally, and the overall sense of comfort increases. It is important to understand that these changes are the result of accumulation. Each small action contributes to the overall outcome. Skipping them may not seem significant in the moment, but consistency amplifies their effect. Just as small negative habits can lead to noticeable problems over time, small positive actions can lead to meaningful improvement. There is also a sense of empowerment that comes from realizing that change does not require extremes. You do not need to exhaust yourself or dedicate large portions of your day. You only need to commit to something manageable and repeat it. This shifts the focus from effort to discipline, from intensity to consistency. Discipline in this context is not about forcing yourself to do something difficult. It is about choosing to do something simple, even when it would be easier to skip it. It is about recognizing that each small action is a step toward a larger goal. Over time, this discipline becomes part of your routine, and the actions feel natural rather than forced. The beauty of small daily actions is that they compound. What starts as a few minutes a day becomes a habit that influences how you sit, stand, and move throughout the entire day. The exercises themselves are only the beginning. They create awareness, reinforce alignment, and encourage better posture in all activities. As this process continues, the need for conscious effort begins to decrease. The body starts to maintain better alignment automatically. The habits that once required attention become second nature. This is the result of consistent, small actions repeated over time. Transformation, in this sense, is not a sudden event. It is a gradual shift that occurs through repetition. Each small action builds on the previous one, creating a foundation for lasting change. The simplicity of the process is what makes it effective, and the consistency is what makes it powerful. Most people think of posture as purely physical, something controlled only by muscles and bones, but that view is incomplete. The way you hold your body is deeply connected to the way you think and feel. Your posture is not just a position, it is an expression. It reflects your internal state, your habits of thought, and your level of awareness. When the mind is distracted, the body tends to collapse. When the mind is alert and engaged, the body naturally rises. This connection is constant, whether you notice it or not. If you observe closely, you will begin to see patterns. When someone feels tired or discouraged, their shoulders drop, their head moves forward, and their spine curves. When they feel confident or energized, their posture changes almost instantly. The chest opens, the shoulders move back, and the head aligns with the spine. This is not something they consciously think about. It happens automatically because the mind and body are always communicating. The challenge is that most people are unaware of this communication. They focus on external factors, work, responsibilities, distractions, without realizing how these factors influence their internal state and, in turn, their posture. Long hours of stress, constant screen use, and mental fatigue create a pattern in the mind that the body follows. Over time, this pattern becomes habitual. The posture that once reflected a temporary state becomes a permanent condition. Awareness of this connection changes everything. When you begin to recognize that your posture is linked to your mindset, you gain a new level of control. Instead of seeing poor posture as something that simply happens, you start to understand it as a response. This understanding allows you to intervene, not just physically, but mentally as well. For example, when you notice your shoulders rounding forward, it is not just a physical adjustment that is needed. It is an opportunity to check in with your mental state. Are you focused or distracted, calm or stressed, engaged or disengaged? By asking these questions, you bring awareness to the root of the behavior, not just the symptom. This creates a deeper level of correction, one that addresses both the body and the mind. There is also a powerful feedback loop at work. Just as your thoughts influence your posture influences your thoughts. When you sit or stand in a collapsed position, it can affect your breathing, your energy levels, and even your mood. Shallow breathing, caused by a compressed chest, reduces oxygen flow and can lead to feelings of fatigue or lack of clarity. Over time, this reinforces a cycle where poor posture supports a low-energy state, and that state encourages continued poor posture. On the other hand, when you consciously adjust your posture, you begin to shift this cycle. Standing taller, opening your chest, and aligning your head with your spine allows for deeper breathing. This increases oxygen flow, which can improve focus and energy. The simple act of adjusting your body can create a noticeable change in how you feel. It may seem subtle at first, but with repetition, the effect becomes stronger. This is where the mind-body connection becomes a tool rather than a limitation. Instead of allowing unconscious habits to dictate your posture, you can use conscious awareness to guide it. Each time you correct your alignment, you are not just training your muscles. You are reinforcing a new pattern in your mind. You are teaching yourself to be present, to notice, and to respond intentionally. Over time, this practice builds a stronger connection between awareness and action. The gap between noticing and correcting becomes smaller. What once required deliberate effort begins to happen more naturally. You start to sit and stand with better alignment without constantly thinking about it. This is not because the physical aspect has been mastered alone, but because the mental aspect has been integrated. Another important element of this connection is how it influences confidence and presence. Posture plays a significant role in how you perceive yourself and how others perceive you. When you carry yourself with alignment and openness, it sends a signal, not just to others, but to your own mind, that you are alert, capable, and in control. This internal signal can influence your thoughts, making you feel more confident and engaged. Conversely, when your posture is closed and collapsed, it can send a different message. It may reinforce feelings of hesitation, low energy, or lack of confidence. These signals are often subtle, but they accumulate over time. The way you hold your body becomes part of how you experience yourself in different situations. By becoming aware of this, you can begin to use posture as a way to influence your mindset. Before entering a situation that requires focus or confidence, you can adjust your posture intentionally. Stand tall, align your head, and open your chest. This simple act prepares both your body and mind, creating a state that supports the outcome you want. The mind-body connection also highlights the importance of consistency in both physical and mental habits. It is not enough to perform exercises if the rest of the day is spent in unconscious patterns. The goal is to create alignment not just during specific moments, but throughout daily activities. This requires ongoing awareness, a willingness to notice and adjust repeatedly. As this awareness grows, you begin to experience your body differently. You become more sensitive to changes in alignment, more responsive to tension, and more capable of making subtle corrections. This sensitivity is not a weakness, it is a strength. It allows you to maintain balance and prevent the buildup of strain over time. The integration of mind and body also encourages a more patient approach to change. Instead of forcing quick results, you begin to focus on building a sustainable pattern. You understand that each moment of awareness contributes to long-term improvement. This perspective reduces frustration and increases commitment. There is a sense of harmony that develops when the mind and body work together. Movements feel more natural, posture feels more stable, and the effort required to maintain alignment decreases. This harmony is not achieved through intensity, but through consistency and awareness. The connection between mind and body is always present, influencing every movement and every position. By bringing attention to this connection, you gain the ability to guide it. Each adjustment becomes more than a physical correction. It becomes a moment of alignment between how you think and how you hold your. There is a common belief that the only way to create real change is through intense effort. People often think that if they push harder, do more, or commit to longer and more demanding routines, they will see faster results. This idea sounds logical, but in practice, it often leads to burnout, inconsistency, and frustration. What truly creates lasting change is not how much you do in a single moment, but how often you do it over time. Intensity can feel productive. It gives a sense of accomplishment in the moment. You might spend a full day focusing on your posture, doing exercises, making adjustments, and being highly aware of every movement. But what happens the next day and the day after that? If that level of effort cannot be maintained, the progress quickly fades. The body returns to its old patterns because those patterns are still being repeated more frequently than the new ones. Consistency, on the other hand, works differently. It does not rely on bursts of effort. It relies on steady repetition. It is the quiet discipline of doing something again and again, even when the results are not immediately visible. This approach may not feel as exciting, but it is far more effective. The body responds to what it experiences most often. When you introduce small, consistent actions, you begin to shift that experience. Think about how posture habits are formed in the first place. They are not created in a single day. They develop gradually through repeated behavior. Sitting for long periods, looking down at devices, and moving without awareness, these actions repeated over weeks and months shape the body. The same principle applies when you are trying to correct those habits. You are not fighting a single action. You are replacing a pattern that has been reinforced over time. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. A few minutes of focused effort each day can have a greater impact than hours of effort done occasionally. Each time you perform a corrective exercise or adjust your posture, you are reinforcing a new pattern. These repetitions accumulate, gradually outweighing the old habits. One of the advantages of consistency is that it builds stability. When an action becomes part of your daily routine, it no longer requires the same level of motivation. It becomes automatic. This reduces the mental effort needed to continue. Instead of relying on willpower, which can fluctuate, you rely on habit, which is more reliable. At the beginning, consistency may feel challenging. The results are not immediate, and the changes may be subtle. It can be tempting to increase intensity in an attempt to speed up the process. But this often leads to inconsistency. Doing too much at once can create fatigue, both physically and mentally. When something feels overwhelming, it becomes harder to repeat. By keeping the action simple and manageable, you make it easier to stay consistent. This does not mean the effort is insignificant. It means the effort is sustainable. Each day, you are contributing to a larger process. Even if the change is not immediately visible, it is happening beneath the surface. Muscles are adapting, alignment is improving, and the body is learning a new way of functioning. Consistency also builds trust in the process. When you show up every day and take action, you begin to see that progress is possible. This reinforces your commitment and makes it easier to continue. Over time, the small actions that once felt insignificant begin to produce noticeable results. The posture improves, the discomfort decreases, and the body feels more balanced. Another important aspect of consistency is that it allows for gradual adaptation. The body does not respond well to sudden, extreme changes. It prefers steady adjustments. When you introduce small corrections regularly, the body has time to adapt. This reduces the risk of strain and makes the changes more stable. There is also a psychological benefit to consistency. Each time you follow through on your commitment, you strengthen your sense of discipline. You prove to yourself that you can take action, even when it is not convenient. This builds confidence, not just in your ability to improve your posture, but in your ability to create change in other areas as well. Consistency creates momentum, and momentum creates ease. What once required conscious effort becomes natural. You begin to sit and stand with better alignment without thinking about it. The exercises become part of your routine, something you do without hesitation. This is when the process becomes truly effective because the new habits are being reinforced continuously. It is important to understand that consistency does not mean perfection. There will be days when the effort is less, when the focus is not as strong, or when you miss a session. What matters is returning to the pattern. One missed day does not undo progress, but repeated inconsistency can slow it down. The goal is not to be perfect, but to be persistent. Over time, the results of consistency become clear. The body begins to hold itself differently, the alignment improves, and the changes become more noticeable. These results are not the product of a single moment of effort, but the accumulation of many small actions repeated over time. This approach also removes the pressure to achieve immediate results. Instead of focusing on how quickly the change happens, you focus on maintaining the pattern. This creates a more sustainable mindset, one that supports long-term improvement rather than short-term gains. Consistency shifts the focus from effort to habit. It transforms actions into routines and routines into lasting change. The body adapts to what it experiences most often, and by providing consistent input, you guide that adaptation in a positive direction. Each day becomes an opportunity to reinforce the new pattern. Each repetition strengthens the alignment you are trying to achieve. Over time, these repetitions accumulate, creating a foundation that supports lasting improvement. The process may seem slow at first, but it is steady, and steady progress, maintained over time, leads to results that are both meaningful and lasting self.